Hello everyone, Silent here, and welcome back to another episode of Bugrock of the Week. Today we're going to be covering a couple of the new 1.16 Bedrock Edition betas, and there is some interesting bug fixes and bugs in these betas. Most importantly, pretty much all mob farms have broken yet again on the Bedrock Edition, so we're going to be doing a little bit of a deep dive on that subject and talking about why and how they are broken. Secondly, we're also going to be covering the 1.16.100.55 and 0.56 betas in today's video. So as per usual, with these 0.100 betas, there's a lot of good little parity fixes, bug fixes, mechanic implementations, feature changes, and basically just a whole lot of good stuff. So let's hop into it. Just a couple important bits of information at the start of this video. The red cursor of doom is back at it again. This is going to be our little trainee, so just ignore it. It's just going to be off to the side observing how we make today's video. His name is Jackson. Just leave him alone. He's just here as a fly on the wall and to be annoying, basically. Also, if you did not see the last episode of Bugrock of the Week, that's because there was a mild derp on my part. It got posted at 3 in the morning, and then I made it private again. And then YouTube thought it was out for 12 hours by the time I actually released it. So basically no one watched it because YouTube didn't recommend it. So if you want some more Bugrock of the Week after today's episode, there's an entire another episode that you probably have not seen. So first things first, mob farms are yet again broken on the Bedrock Edition, and this shouldn't really be surprising to anybody if you've been paying attention. Mob farms basically break literally every other update on Bedrock Edition, and so does most other things. Literally most things break every other update. It's just kind of how Bedrock Edition goes at this point. This is a very slow camera pan. Anyway, so the issue that has been fixed, and this is actually an intentional change, so this isn't us using a mechanic that's, supposed to be in the game and then that mechanic has changed or broken. This is us using a bug to help our mob farms, and that bug has been broken. So in previous updates, buttons and signs, etc. appeared to be full blocks, like a full block to mobs, and they would pathfind over it, and then they would fall down, which is incredibly helpful. You've probably seen this in a variety of different farms. It's extremely helpful for getting mobs to pathfind where they wouldn't normally. So, as you can see now, the zombies and literally no other mobs in the game will pathfind over buttons. They realize they can't pathfind over them. They're not going to try and do it. So now we have to go back to using trapdoors, basically. As you can see, they're still going to pathfind over these. So, as you can see, this is how buttons used to work, of course, but they no longer do that. So this little mechanic was extremely widely spread used by the entire community when it came to making mob farms or pretty much anything with AI and pathfinding. We just used it literally all the time. This was especially useful for dealing with spiders and or preventing their spawns, because they would think that these were full blocks, try and pathfind over them, and then fall straight down. However, you can see that the spiders do still walk around, but not quite, as ideally as before. And in general, this was just an incredibly useful thing for so many various different facets of mob farms and getting mobs to be where you want them to be. So does this change suck? Absolutely. Should we have seen it coming? Absolutely, because buttons were never intended to act as full blocks. We just found that mechanic and have been using it to our advantage for a while. So the reign of the button has now come to an end. Also, we should not be upset when things get broken, because if you're designing things for the Bedrock Edition, you kind of just have to come to the realization that it's gonna break. This mob farm right here got 7,000 drops an hour. This is the mob farm that I designed and released for the 100,000 special a while ago. Wasn't even that long ago. Hold on, let me see. So this mob farm released on September 12th, 2019, so literally just over a year ago. It is now September 19th as of recording, and there have been 3 or 4 major things that have broken this mob farm over time. The first and easiest is 1.16, introducing the despawn and the 44 spawn and despawn radius, so that completely ruins this entire farm. Furthermore, the solid block and slab ceiling got broken. We can no longer use that to push surface spawns down into the farm. We gotta replace this entire ceiling with like leaves, about 10-15 blocks up in the sky. The trident killers have broken twice, I believe, and now the buttons have broken again. So in the span of 1 year, this farm has broken 4 or 5 different times, and that is simply just how Bedrock Edition works. We're playing a game that is still under development heavily, receiving a ton of updates, a ton of bug fixes, a ton of mechanic changes, and all kinds of revisions all the time. So we really should not be too upset when stuff breaks. We have to realize that bug fixes are going to happen, mechanics are going to change constantly, and this is a very fluid game. It has always been very fluid. There's always been a variety of things breaking every update, variety of things getting fixed every update. This specifically does hurt in survival when you get done building this massive farm, spending hours building it, and then the next update breaks it. But, you know, that's why you gotta build things and then use them as much as you can while they still work. So those are my words of wisdom to you as a Bedrock Edition veteran. I've been playing since, like, this game was even called Bedrock Edition, or Better Together even. I've been here the whole ride, and things have been breaking and getting fixed the entire time, basically just running in circles, placing down train tracks in front of you as you go. Why does the skeleton skull have a 3 on it in the inventory? Like, I want more skulls! I think there should actually be an expandable menu right there for the Wither Skeleton Skull and the other mob heads. Oh, and there's more down here. There's 2 skeleton skulls in one menu? What? Okay, betas are a little bit funky. There's even more skeleton skulls! What is happening? The skeletons are taking over. This is not allowed. So this change with buttons coincides with a fix for another pathfinding bug where mobs would not pathfind over short blocks, such as slabs, soul sand, and enchantment tables. So if we go ahead and put down some lower slabs, notably with no blocks underneath it, then as you'll see, mobs will now officially pathfind over it as they should. So pretty standard behavior, right? That's exactly how things should be working. However, this would not be pathfindable in previous updates if there was no solid blocks beneath it. But now, as you can see, mobs walk across all of these things very easily. So I reported this bug back in like 1.11 and made a video on it way back in the day, but I only put 4 different blocks on the actual bug report, but kind of implying that it affected all lower blocks. So the only blocks I put on there was lower slabs, soul sand, enchantment tables, and brewing stands. Pathfinding now works perfectly fine for all of these short blocks. However, all of the other short blocks in the game, mobs still can't pathfind over these, like barely at all. As you can see, can't go over unlit campfires, can't go over daylight sensors, chests, grindstones, etc. Some of them they can kind of pathfind over, but as you can see, they jump and then they get stuck and then they fall. So definitely not ideal, but like kinda functional. So because the original report only had these 4 items in it, these 4 items have now been fixed and the report is going to be marked as resolved, rightly so. However, all of the other short blocks in the game are still affected, so I'm going to make a new bug report, which is what I've been instructed to do for all of the other short blocks. If you want to see mobs be able to pathfind over all the short blocks in the game, then please go ahead and upvote that bug report down in the description, and thank you very much for doing so. So that's the news about mob farms and my take on it, and now I pass the question off to you guys. What do you think about this change? What do you think about this bug fix? And what do you think about the constant cycle of change on Bedrock Edition that has the side effect of breaking most everything we design every update? Let me know all of your thoughts, opinions, and takes down in the comment section. I really do want to hear from you guys about this because you're the guys actually building all this random stuff in survival mode and having to rebuild it every couple of updates. So real quick, we're going to cover some of the other bugs in the new betas. First of all, one of the most interesting ones is baby mobs have lost their head. No, this is not a sheep butt, that is a sheep head. But there's a supreme lack of a head, so it's kind of like, you know, the dog from Simpsons, where it's just butts on both sides. Yeah, not a good pet. And then there's villagers with no heads, and baby zombies with no heads. Basically, all the baby mobs don't have heads, which is really quite sad and just mildly depressing. Also, one thing I've noticed with the villager spawn egg is that like 95% of the time you get a baby. It should be like 5% of the time you get a baby. Look how many babies there is. It's just 100% babies. Just because I love bugs and checking them out, here is the baby cow with no head. Pretty standard. Here is the baby dog with no head, notably also red. And here's the baby pig with no head. Yeah, pretty much what you would expect, right? Another great example of everything breaking every single update. This bug could literally destroy like half of all redstone contraptions if left in the game and not fixed before this beta releases. Observers are completely broken. They never turn off. They put out a constant signal as soon as they observe a single thing happening in front of them. As you can see, these redstone lamps literally just will not turn off even if you re-update this thing. Yeah, so there's just nothing you can do about it. Even moving the observer will not change it. It's just gonna constantly give out a signal. As you can see, the back of it is not lit up, but it's still giving out a constant pulse. So this definitely needs to get fixed. Otherwise, say goodbye to literally everything that uses observers for like 2 to 3 months before the next update releases. A little bit of an update on the previous episode where we mentioned the deltas and the soul sand valley biomes now have the proper ceilings made out of soul sand, soil, and the basalt, of course. One of you guys, a viewer of that episode by the name of Roger, actually went ahead and made a bug report for the walls being the incorrect type. So as you can see, all the walls are made out of Netherack with little itty bitty bits of soul sand, soil, and basalt. You can see this over here as well. This has been confirmed as a bug, and for reference on Java Edition, basically the entire biome is made out of basalt, blackstone, soul sand, soul soil, with just little patches of Netherack here and there. But on Bedrock Edition, it appears just to be like the outer shell is made out of the proper blocks. And now we move on to covering some lovely bug fixes and start focusing on some positive aspects of these betas. We're now going to cover the 1.16.100.55 beta, and the first little change is that Shroomlights can now be composted and a composter, and they will give you bone meal, which is pretty awesome. They appear to have a fairly high chance of actually filling in a layer of the composter as well, so this is great news for anybody with a fungus tree farm, or anybody that just in general hates Shroomlights. Furthermore, all other things that you would normally expect to work in the composter now also work in the composter as well. There are some issues with the nether plants, like the little grass sprout things not being compostable, but now all of that should be functional again. So there is a new bug fix where these Zoglins have the cute oversized head, and here's a hoglin, but as you can see, it doesn't have a head, and I have a feeling, yeah, when this guy converts, he doesn't have a head. So there is a bug fix where these guys have the giant heads, which is so cute and adorable. However, there's a bug that's preventing us from seeing their heads. And next up, we have another bug fix as well, and this one targets the portal tiles. So nowadays, you can't actually have a portal tile just like existing in the world. It'll only exist for 1 second before it is removed. They've made some changes like this in the past as well, where you can't have multiple of these next to each other because they would update each other, realize they're not part of a valid portal structure, and then basically delete each other. So you can kind of see the chain reaction with this one. Like this one will be summoned in first and then disappear, and then these two will disappear after it. As you can see, it's kind of a chain reaction. So this, of course, affects some mob farms and breaks them permanently. And I'm guessing you can probably guess my reaction and take on that. So this is a very niche thing. This is really only going to affect those of us who have been using a very obvious bug to get these portal tiles and use them for mob farms. Surprisingly, this does not affect the end portal, which is mildly surprising. So you don't need a solid frame or bedrock around this or anything. It's perfectly fine just staying there floating. It's not going to get deleted. This is a really good thing. This means that we can still destroy the bedrock in the end dimension around the fountain we can still destroy the in-portal frames and the strongholds for all kinds of different things. Also, as of the 0.100.55 beta, there is a brand new achievements screen. So if we click on the profile button and then go to achievements, you'll see that we got this very fancy screen. This is way fancier than it was before. So it shows you which ones are locked at the very top, which is great. Previously, all the locked ones were way down at the bottom. It shows you which ones you've completed, and the most recent completed ones are at the top as well. Very, very nice. And of course, there's also a tab for all of the locked ones. Very good. All of the completed ones are on their own tab. Nice. I like this a lot. It shows you up here your percent complete and progress, all the rewards, your gamer score, and finally your time played. Oh my god, time played is back. They reset that and broke that a couple of weeks ago. It showed time played 0 for everybody, but now you can see my amazingly fantastic 4777 hours. Doc M would be very proud. Moving on to the 1.16.100.56 beta, there isn't too much to cover in this one either, but the first one is that cobblestone will now show as the default ingredient for things like stone, tools, and whatnot. Previously, for some players, it was showing blackstone as the default ingredient. Of course, you can use either, but obviously, cobblestone is going to be a lot easier to get when you're first starting off the game, and that makes sense to be shown as the default ingredient. And next up, we have a changelog saying reduced and reintroduced linear attenuation for raid horn sound. That's a lot of big words that I do not know the meanings of, so I'm gonna pretend like I know what it means. I'm assuming this is implying that the raid horn that was previously so loud has now been tuned down a little bit. And actually, yes, there's the raid horn. It is so much quieter now. In previous updates, it was literally deafening. It would just destroy your ears, even if you had your game sound on a very low volume. So I'm glad that they finally fixed that. Another very small bug fix is that we now have the proper placing and breaking sounds for the item frame. So that's about all the things a small brain person like me can describe to you from the 0.5 and 0.56 betas. However, there is a lot of other interesting stuff in the changelogs, including a little note that says they've also included some technical changes that content creators should find useful. I didn't really see anything when reading through the changelogs, but then again, I don't understand any of this because this is like for big brain smart people. I am not one of those, but here's the changelog on screen really slow for you so that you can read through it, because it's going to take 20 years for you to understand what any of it means. But I assume at least one thing in there is cool, therefore I approve of these changes. So let me know what you think about this beta and all of the things that have changed, been fixed, and also been broken in this beta. I really do want to hear from you guys down in the comment section. Although beware, I have a feeling the comments on this one might be kind of a minefield. People don't usually take lightly to stuff being broken, but you know, that's understandable. What can you do? Things break. It's kind of natural to be upset about it. But also, they break a lot, so we should probably start getting used to it a little bit more. Anyway, thank you ever so much for watching today's episode. I do hope that you have greatly enjoyed. Of course, if you have, make sure to leave a like on the video. It helps out the video and the channel a ton. If you are new here, then make sure to subscribe, of course, so you don't miss future videos like this on the channel. And otherwise, I'll see you all down in the comment section and in the next one. Thank you again for watching. And then there was silence.